I'm back, and it's one more important game from round 8. It is Anand, who was on +1 before this round, and Caruana, who was on an equal score. As you can see here, Carlsen, So, and Anand were on +1. We already know that Carlsen and So drew their game. Nakamura joined the +1 group. And will Anand pull away, or will Caruana join the group and send Anand down? It's quite remarkable that a guy like Nakamura, he can draw his first 7 games and then win 1 game, and he's in the leading group. Let's see this game. Anand had the white pieces, and he opened with pawn to e4. No surprises here. e5 by Caruana, sticking to his successful Petroff defense after knight to f6. What does Wishy have in mind here to check out the preparation of Caruana here? Knight takes e5, d6, main line until here. Now d4 is the absolute main line. Knight c3 is more of a modern way to test the Petroff. Take on double pawn and then castle queenside. But Anand plays a quiet line, d3. Knight goes back to f6, and now d4, d5. Now this position you might actually expect to get after a French defense, the exchange variation. After e4, e6, d4, d5, takes, and now knight f3, knight f6. You get the same position as in the game, but after 4 moves. In the Petroff, you get it after 6 moves, because both sides spent time on their knights and on playing d4 in 2 moves. Okay, bishop to d3, normal development here, castles. Looks like Wishy was happy with a solid and quiet game, but it seems like Caruana might have other ideas. After bishop g5, h6, okay, still normal. Bishop to h4, knight to c6. Kind of an odd looking development with, you know, I play this myself, usually have a knight here and here when I play knight c6. But Caruana had a very specific idea in mind, and a very risky one. Seems like he was really going for it, even though it was a Petroff and then the French exchange. Now a very aggressive idea, g5. Now always when you play a move like this, you have to think about the capture on g5. White will get 2 pawns for the piece, and he will open up the king. However, it looks like White will not have enough firepower to back up this pin. Black should be in time here with moves like bishop e7 or king g7. And White simply doesn't have enough pieces to take advantage of this pin. Black is about to untangle here, I think. Anand came to the same conclusion and went bishop to g3. And now knight to e4. Very aggressive. Black just wants to play f5. So even though this is a Petroff, here you can get an interesting and aggressive idea to play in the exchange French. So this is something I will, you know, put in my notebook, you know, exchange French. Maybe I play h6, g5. You know, if you want to, you know, get some imbalances, maybe play for the win. Okay, here f5, f4 is coming, so White really needs to get rid of this bishop, so it takes on d6. One important line here, knight b to d2, f5, now take on d6, and queen to b3. Black has bishop e6 here, and very importantly, White can't take on e4, which looks like a pin, because when you take, the bishop hangs, but Black has knight to a5 here, and as the knight is protected by the queen, White can't attack it, so once the queen moves, d takes e4, and Black is in control. In the game, bishop takes d6, and now pawn takes d6. Now we're taught that pass pawns are bad. Don't get the, no, pass pawns are good, but double pawns are bad. You can't get the double pawns. But that's not always the case, because double pawns also cover important squares. And this d6 pawn does a hell of a job of covering the e5 square. There's no knight e5. Okay, c5 is less important, but could be. And also, if white were to take on e4, you now straighten out black's pawns and everything is just fine. Also, we have some open files to work with, so not always bad. There are pros and cons. Now Anand went knight after d2, now f5, which was the idea, fortifying the knight, and knight to a3. It seems like the critical test here is queen to b3, but probably Anand smelled the rat, feared preparation. As it turns out, Caruana had analyzed this, but he said it was so long ago that he really couldn't remember anything, and just decided to play this and, you know, try to remember the ideas. But yeah, queen b3 probably forces black to sack a pawn with something like bishop e6 and either knight a5 or knight e7, trying to get sufficient counterplay. But Anand went with knight to a3, trying to stay very solid here. Bishop e6. After knight c2, Caruana took on d2, and he said that already after f4 he felt like he couldn't lose. He was in no danger of losing. His feeling was, after some natural moves, he said that if he wants, he can just place a rook on the e-file, exchange all the rooks, and it will be a draw. So at this point he already felt like he was playing for an advantage, so he decided to keep the rooks on. Why? Because once you start advancing these pawns, you need some pieces behind it, behind the pawn mass to mount an attack on the king. Anand starts maneuvering. He wants to put the knight on d3, knight e7, bishop e2, and now a5. Caruana said afterwards it was a good move, but he didn't explain why. And to be perfectly honest, I don't understand why it's such a great move. Why not get on with it on the king side? Simen Adestan called the move deep, and well, I haven't had time to figure out what's so deep about it. If you have an idea why a5 is such a good move, if you know or if you heard, please let us know in the comments. I don't think it's a factor to, okay, the knight is going to d3, but is it going to b4? I don't think so. What is it going to do on b4? Maybe it's a decent square, I don't know, with some pressure on d5. It might, yeah, it might cripple. It might cripple black's pieces. That could be it. If you get an knight on b4 bishop here, then black can't move this, and then white can maybe double on the e-file. Something like this. Okay, I'm not sure though. But if I was played, bishop to b3, rook to g7, and queen d3. I think computer thinks knight d3 is best, and I think Caruana criticized this move as well. Bishop to d7, a4, and king h8. Okay, this is useful too. You can use this square for a rook maybe, and also you get out of the line of fire on this diagonal if needed. It's hard to see it being a factor, but it could be. Queen to d2, and now Caruana starts pushing h5, knight d3. For now, g4 is not a threat because f4 would be under a serious attack by white. So other avenues now, knight to f5. This leaves the pawn hanging, but it has the nice idea of knight to e3. And here Anand decides to let go of the exchange. He plays bishop takes d5, allows knight d3, and now takes it. Caruana decides to gobble the pawn on a4 because why not? I mean, white had some pawns for the exchange. There's no need to give him too many. Rook to a1. Rook to e7, attacking the queen. Now we can retreat the bishop. And Caruana took on d3, removing this strong knight, which was covering a lot of squares. And this actually allows the rook to penetrate, rook to e1. And now he doubles the rooks. here. Anand played rook a8, which might not be the best move. Bishop takes b7 comes into consideration to try to exchange some pieces. But there's also a very nice line here. If white were to play a move like g3, there's queen to f5. Very, very nice. The point, of course, is deflection, queen takes, and rook e2, rook 8 to e2 is checkmate. And yeah, queen d2, queen h3 is also quite nice for black. But Anand played rook to a8 here. Queen to f4, and now he went for the rook trade. Queen d1, and this was around the time trouble phase. Queen d1 actually turns out to be the only move. Otherwise black might be penetrating here with a mate threat on b2. So white had to be passive, but he loses the pawn on h2 now. And after queen d2, Caruana decided to repeat the position a few times here, because the time control was just around the corner, so he repeats here. And then goes for the win here with rook a8. Turns out b6 might have been the best move, just to put the pawn on the black square and to preserve it. Rook a8 is a nice move, but white might have a miraculous defense here. After king e2, rook to a1, king to d3, and Caruana was quite happy with b5, keeping the king boxed in. And here c4 by Anand. Bishop c6 is the computer move, and here Caruana had been intending queen to h1. When there are some nice lines, like if you take the pawn, you're threatening perpetuals. I will give a check, and you can't avoid me giving a check here. If you go here, I will give you a check. If you go here, I'll probably give you this check, and then I will give you a check, and I will win the queen. Also, there are ideas of just winning the queen, but king e4 is the remarkable defense. And in the post-game interview, and according to the computer, there doesn't seem to be much of an advantage for black here. Still, it's very imbalanced, so who knows what would happen in a practical game, but this would have been very interesting if Anand had found this. Instead, he played c4. I mean, there's still some work to be done for black. B takes c4, king takes c4, and queen f4. Perhaps the hardest job was if white takes on f4. But perhaps now was the final mistake. Queen takes f4. You know, gives white a fighting chance. But after queen e2, final blunder according to Caruana. Queen c1 check, king to b5, and queen to c8. And the king is feeling the draft. Another one, king b6. King b4 was probably the last chance to put up a fight. Black is still much better, probably winning, but king b6 just loses immediately after queen b8 check. A forcing continuation now, king c6 and rook c1 check, and Anand resigned. So just one round after joining the leaders, starting with 6 draws and then winning a game, he immediately loses to Caruana, who now joins a pack of 4 players. Carlsen, Caruana, Nakamura, and so 4 guys in the lead heading into the last round. So just the final word in this game. Okay, king d7, and then we play rook c7. And okay, if you take the pawn, discover check, winning the queen. And if you go here, queen e8, and again winning the queen. So that's why he resigned. So a very exciting final round coming up. And I'm actually going to check out the pairings for the last round. It is Vasily Lograf has the white pieces against Magnus Carlsen. Fabiano Caruana white against Wesley So, very interesting matchup. 2 of the leaders. And Nakamura has black against Levon Aronian. So wouldn't you know it, kind of Caruana in the driver's seat after losing to Carlsen early in the tournament, and Carlsen having +2 after 3 rounds. Unbelievable turn of events, and we cannot miss the last round tomorrow. I'm not gonna miss it. I hope you won't miss it, and I hope I'll be here tomorrow to cover the games for you, and I'll see you there. Bye bye.